to Miss Martin Muses and another Monday Musings. Monday Musings of Madness, because apparently in this ridiculous show known as The Rings of Power, Galadriel and Sauron were in love. It has finally been confirmed, and it has not only been confirmed by any person. It has been confirmed by the director of the last episode of season 2, as well as the fact that she is from Sweden. So we, all the way from the north, and someone that is not from Sweden. My guest tonight, it is the Viking himself, Steve Kenobi. Hello.
Hi. I've been warning people about Swedes for years. Nobody listens.
Nope. Except for Dolph Long. I'm afraid to pronounce his name.
Yeah, well, he's fine because he's probably adopted.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. Well, someone who is not, or maybe so, it is DJ Play Nice. Hello, good evening. Thank you for being here. And yes, we're going to talk about, apparently, the greatest love story ever told. It's amazing. I mean, how could we not have known? How could we not have known that all along Galadriel and Sauron were truly in love? I mean, Stig, in the first season, do you think that they were going to go deeper with this? No pun intended. And then they got chicken when they saw the backlash?
No, I think they I thought they would double down and make it even worse, which they did.
Yeah.
You know, and well, I guess the source material is very complicated and they couldn't follow it, so they just used the names and played around in their little sandbox and then paid people to say it was a good result. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm close.
Did you say you feel like you're close?
Yeah, close to the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, only one reviewer, like from a mainstream, did I see that really ripped it. And that was some guy from Forbes. So I was surprised. It's like, oh my gosh, someone is finally calling it out. Maybe his check ran out. But I genuinely still think what they were doing was they thought that fantasy was simple. They thought, fantasy, you just throw a few dragons up there and hobbits and wizards and everyone's going to show up. And they didn't understand the genius of it.
Well, that actually works for the modern audience because we've seen in other shows that people just go, oh, wow, dragons. Best show ever. It's happened a couple of times.
That's true.
Yeah, so they're not wrong if they think that about the modern audience, but the thing is the modern audience don't spend money.
Nope.
And they'll migrate to the next thing immediately and decide, oh shit, this stuff is trending. I need to be a fan of this. Don't know shit about it, but need to, make sure to force themselves into the conversation. And I can actually... I mentioned to Jade Shadow Mara that it's basically remember the Reylos from Star Wars, the sequel trilogy.
Yes.
Well, one Rings of Power simp or whatever you want to call it was having a go at Mara this morning, and lo and behold, the Twitter handle, the was Reylo something.
Oh.
I'm like, they migrated to this, and then I'm pretty sure they're gonna migrate over to the Harry Potter TV show. I think that's gonna be the next landing spot.
Well, I might disagree with you there because Harry Potter, because of J.K. Rowling, maybe not.
No.
But I want to say hello to Adega Outlaw. Hello. And DJ Play Nice. Binged the show last week, and now I'm caught up to season episode 8. how could you have binged it? Because I had to watch it in just little bits because I couldn't stand it. It was so boring. I don't know.
I'm sorry for the actors.
Yeah,
You know,
they were really acting the crap out of it, especially the actor who plays Celebrimbor
yeah,
and Sauron. I thought they really did their best, and so did not Elrond and all of them. Yeah, and I just want to
and
say,
Durin
oh yes, hell yes.
and Rory Kinnear, who played Not Bombadil,
Mm-hmm.
who happened to basically played Hagrid in the Rings of Power. There's nothing wrong with his acting; it's great, but he's just playing a bastardized character, and that's not his fault, you know.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I've seen Rory Kinnear in other things. He was in a lot of the new uh, Daniel Craig Bond movies, and he was
Mm.
on Penny Dreadful, where he played the Frankenstein monster. And he basically did a 10 out of 10 in that show. So, absolutely a talented actor, but you know, the best actors cannot look great if they're put into shit material.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
Yes.
hell, Ben Kingsley, who is a superb actor, he's been in a couple of really bad B movies, and they suck. But is he a bad actor because of that? Right?
No, and they're taking paychecks. And if I recall correctly, the actress who played Galadriel at first didn't even know that that's what she was cast as. Like they were trying to keep everything such a secret that they were going in blind. But of course, if you are an actor, even if this stuff is shit, as it is garbage, it is good for their careers because any steady work is steady work. And I think that most of them will be able to survive this because this is very forgettable. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I just
the
want to.
ones that the ones that shouldn't survive are the writers and the showrunners. But sadly, in Hollywood and all that stuff, you fail upwards, don't you?
You do. Yes, indeed. We've seen that a lot, especially with Disney Star Wars. On the other hand, Benioff and Weiss, they have not been able to survive what happened to them. And I think there's a reason why they have these unknowns because no reputable writers would really want to have anything to do with this. Because, I mean, I've always said it's like going to a musician and saying, I'm going to have you write Beethoven's 10th symphony. You, it's like, no, you can't do it. But to go back to a little bit to the Harry Potter thing, a little bit of a mea culpa. You might be right on this, so I'm ready for an "I told you so" because maybe people will
No,
have
I'm
forgotten.
just educatedly guessing
Mm-hmm.
because that would be the next kind of big thing coming up, aside from more Disney trash from Star Wars and Marvel. But
Yeah, and we actually haven't been seeing any signs of the Feist series coming up, so I don't think that they're actually going to be doing it. But I honestly think so. I think that they're like, no, this is too much of a risk. That's my opinion. It's been 2 years since we've heard anything about it.
yeah,
Uh,
and we also saw the shippers showing up in House of the Dragon.
oh gosh, yeah.
It was less so though than with this, but
Yeah, it was pretty cringe. That was a terrible season as well. Yeah, they just went Alicent and Manure. But let's get into this. Now, this is from the Nerdist. Thank you, Soul Assassin, for being here. The article that they have here, it was bringing up so many ads, so I decided to just source it. So they are talking to the director of the last episode of season 2, episode 8. The lady's name is Charlotte, and I'm not going to pronounce her name because I am self-conscious.
I can do it.
Yes.
Bronström.
What he said.
Yeah. Swedish.
Yeah. Well, you can pronounce all of them too because you've got the phonemes. So When bonded characters reunite after separation, this is the question. It's always intense. First of all, bonded characters. Doubly so if it's Galadriel and Sauron. Oh my gosh. Doubly so if it's Galadriel and Sauron. What they have a ship name too, don't they? It's like Galadrion or something, or Sauroniel. I don't know what it is. It's just so borderline blasphemous about it. Can you talk a bit about crafting their sword fight reunion and what you wanted them each to bring to that moment? Because, they're so bonded. I called it 2 years ago that they were going to try to do a Grindelwald Dumbledore thing, and sure enough, they did.
Galadriel recognized Sauron when he was looking like Anatar.
Mm-hmm.
Yet Celebrimbor didn't, because he had seen him as Halbrand. So Galadriel just knew what the audience knew.
Yeah. Well, there's been a joke that a lot of the actors, rather the characters, that they've been on X and on TikTok finding out all the information, because all of the magic traveling that's been happening in this show, it's impossible that it could be done that quickly.
Yeah, it's like the planet is smaller than England.
Mm-hmm. And things that usually take months, take less than a day. It's got, maybe they got magic ravens like they do in the Game of Thrones TV show. I don't know.
Yeah, and Galadriel and company needed someone with a map to get them from A to B. And I'm like, you haven't been there before? Really? You needed someone with a map to get you through the Barrow Downs or whatever the hell it was?
Oh, gee. Well, that thing was just out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, all you had to do is kill them with their own weapons. It's like, okay. Now that they know that, why didn't they tell everyone afterwards?
Good point. Yeah. Imagine the amount of things in this stupid show that people just didn't talk. That's why people have compared it to a soap opera, and it really is, because that's what happens on soap operas. It's just something that you draw out as long as you can, because that's just what you do. So it's like, I'm not going to tell people about Halbrand. Why not? Yes. I don't know. I'm just not.
Everyone killed by a Barow White at this point, after this season, their deaths are on Galadriel and the other ones that were with her, because they should have told everyone, hey, if you go to the Barrow Downs, make sure to pick up a weapon from the ground. It belongs to some of the whites, and then you can defend yourself. Yeah. It should have been written down in books. Right?
Yep. Yeah. But no logic there. And of course, none of those characters were even supposed to be doing any of that. But Soul Assassin says, I saw someone on Twitter posted a picture of Arwen and Sauron with the scares on face saying, like, granddaughter, like grandfather. Even to a normie like me, that doesn't make sense.
I think it means scars.
Oh, with the scars on face. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. I saw someone tweet that out. And it's like, come on.
Oh, no. Well, I know that the shippers are already doing stuff like that. Celebrian is going to be the daughter of Sauron and all this stupid stuff. And it's like, come on. All right. Let's get to the answer. I'm going to say it wrong. Brandstrom says, yeah, these are two very magnificent actors. True. And also two extremely strong and magical characters in Middle Earth. Objectively, she is correct. In the real Middle Earth, that is correct.
Yeah.
And they were also the most powerful people there.
Well, that's kind of I think if Gandalf fought Sauron 101, Sauron would win. I think so. Right?
Yeah. Well,
But and then if Sauron versus Galadriel, Sauron would win. Um, Galadriel versus Gandalf, I think Galadriel might win.
yeah.
I don't know. So it's one of those situations where you can make a case for a lot of them, but Sauron's the big boss, right? If Gandalf or Galadriel could beat him 1-on-1, they could just get there and kill him.
Yeah. Of course, that's not how it unfolded in the Legendarium.
Because they probably couldn't. You needed armies, and basically what defeats Sauron is that he kind of overreached and put too much of himself into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So when he lost the ring and his finger got cut off, it all backfired on him.
Yeah. Well, and other things also, which I don't think that they have the rights to do, so we're not going to see how it's supposed to play out, because of course the rings were made, the 3 rings of the elves were made last, and Celebrimbor did it without the assistance of Sauron. He did assist them with the other rings, but they realized that Anatar was how they had been deceived through other Sauron and all that, because Sauron made the one ring. So at this point in the story, if you will, at the Siege of Eregion, that, or sacking or whatever, because it was a horrible defeat for the elves, the one ring was made, and that was how they knew Sauron was bad, and they took off the rings. They were like, oh, hell no. So the one ring should be there, and Celebrimbor recognizes it right away. And when he's being tortured to tell where the rings are that were made. And they were made over hundreds of years, the rings of power. And he does end up giving it away that he does have the rings of men and dwarves, but Sauron does not know about the 3. So
Yeah,
he
so
should be having
the timeline is all over the place because Celebrimbor is now dead. Mm-hmm. So, and the one ring hasn't been made.
No. And so it was supposed to be Sauron. No. It was supposed to be Sauron attacking Eregion. And by the way, Celeborn was there defending Eregion. And Galadriel was elsewhere at this time with her daughter.
She was in Khazad-dûm, I think.
Yeah, well, they'd passed through there. They actually, they had gone to Khazad-dûm, and then they were just at a place just outside of it. They were hanging out being elves there.
Yeah, and I think Rivendell was already there too.
No.
Was that right after?
That was right after. I mean, that is something that they did do accurately in the show. After that defeat, they went off with Elrond to found Rivendell. And then Galadriel and her daughter Celebrian, they went back through Khazad-dûm and all that and went up to Rivendell, or at that time called in Ladris, that's what the elves called it. Rivendell is what the men called it. That's when they were reunited at Rivendell, because, big battle. But, they had to have Galadriel at the battle instead, doing the damsel in distress and having a Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker thing.
You know what else they did?
What?
That really screwed stuff up? In the Fellowship of the Ring, when Galadriel resists the ring,
mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. That's like a huge win for Galadriel, right?
Yep.
Well, according to the Rings of Power, she has resisted him to his face 4 or 5 times already. So just resisting the ring is no big deal at all in their universe. It's just like the 6th time.
Yeah, because it was about the power, and she said no to the power to become his queen several times. You're right. I mean, it was such a big deal that is what made Galadriel be pardoned, because she is a penitent. She's not allowed to go to Valinor. She has been banned. And when she passed that test, then the doors open up for her and she can go over the sea and all that fun stuff. This idea that they have in the show.
You need to resist Sauron 6 times, then he can go.
Exactly. Oh gosh, you see, this is so ridiculous. This is what happens just going through this answer. Okay, I'm going to go through her continuing. So, the fact that the two of them were fighting each other. Oh gosh. I wanted to be very epic. Because,
it wasn't.
It was silly. And when Sauron realizes that he's not going to win, that's when he starts to change shape.
Which was weird, because he sure as hell was winning at that point.
Yeah.
He had injured her several times. Like, I never got the feeling that she was winning at any point.
And she had that stupid little chain skirt
And,
thing.
another thing I noticed is, well, when he stabs her with the crown, which shouldn't even be there, because that crown is in the void with Morgoth, I think.
You are correct. Actually, more specifically, they had turned it into a vice thing around his neck to hold him. So the crown doesn't really exist. It had been changed to be his,
his chains, what the word is, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But he stabs her, right? And then she collapses.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And she's all bloody and dirty, and then she stands up straight, as if she's not injured at all, and her outfit is clean again.
Oh, terrible.
And then she jumps off the cliff and crash lands on the ground, like a kilometer down or something. I don't know. It was pretty far. And then all of a sudden, she's poisoned, assumingly from the crown. Because it looks like it's like a Morgul blade damage, like what Frodo got. So, as long as she takes new injuries, it doesn't count. That's what it looked like. Because, the main issue is, she got stabbed with the crown, so she can't take damage from the fall.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and in season 1, when they're climbing the ice wall, which is a scene they stole from Game of Thrones, she's afraid of falling down, right? Because that'll kill her. Season 2 happens, she's immune to damage from falling down.
Well, as Adiga Outlaw says, it's magic.
Yeah, very selective magic. It's like every time something doesn't make sense, it's magic.
Yeah, which is the antithesis of what Tolkien was all about.
How can this get past editing, though? The fact that she's all bloody and dirty, and then she stands up and she's clean. Yeah. And then when she lands again, she's bloody and dirty.
Yeah, it's like
someone in editing had to have, spotted that, because I saw it right away and I was just watching the episode.
Yeah, it's like, don't you all have any proofreaders? Yeah. And LOL. Well, but for real, to go back a little bit to the magic, the way Tolkien uses it is very, very limited. It's not like, oh, I've got a magic ring, now you're healed, or the way they let's combine our magic of the ring and heal Galadriel. It's like, no, that's not how these 3 rings work. That's not how any magic works. He doesn't have Harry Potter, magic wands, or what we do when we're playing D&D. You roll the dice and it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to cast this healing spell on you. That's not Tolkien's magic. Actually, he doesn't even call it magic.
It's just because you have to have a lot of spells and stuff in D&D so that it doesn't get boring to play as a wizard or whatever, But Tolkien is high fantasy, but at the same time, low magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about ready to say, even the use of the word magic, I'm very hesitant to say in association with what Tolkien does.
Yeah, spell casting is only done a couple of times in the whole of the Lord of the Rings. Because Saruman casts a fireball thing at Gandalf. right, from the tower, and it does nothing, and then Gandalf makes his staff crack, right?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, and then you have when Gandalf's facing off the Balrog. Other than that, there's very little magic being used.
Yeah. And it's again, it's not wand waving and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and the fight between Gandalf and Saruman doesn't happen in the books, or rather,
No.
something happened because he captured him, right? It's not just like he grabbed his shoulder and said, "Ah, you're caught," right? So some kind of fight must have happened, but it isn't on screen.
No. Salty Traveling Sea is here. Didn't watch 1 second of this SHIT season of Putrid Corruption. Only
Oh,
listened to
he
others
means
react.
shit. I
Thank
think
you.
he means shit. That's what he's trying to say.
Thank you, Steve. And I'm
Yeah,
trying to be a
ripping you.
better Catholic. I was
Well, I'm being
convicted
helpful.
when I was.
Being helpful.
Thank you. I was convicted when I was reading the Liturgy of the Hours. Vespers. It's like, dang it. I'm trying to watch my foul mouth, but I have so many other vices. That's the one left that I haven't conquered. But yeah, I agree with you, Salty Traveling Sea. This time around, I watched it, but I literally had to watch it only in bursts because it was so freaking boring.
To be honest,
It was ridiculous.
between the three of us, Salty wins.
Yeah.
Because he didn't lose the minutes we did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I got some crochet done while I was watching it, and my personal assistant, she saw it up there. It's like, what's that? It's like, it's the worst show ever. She's never even heard of it, and she's supposed to be their audience, a college kid. Okay, hey Teresa, I got a rose from Zach's. Thank you very much, and everyone's saying hello to each other. Yes, and all of that. I have a video actually about the magic in Tolkien's work, but you see, the Rings of Power, what it was it kind of like preserved like nature. I mean, it's very hard to put into words what it actually was, what those rings did. It really wasn't like I said, Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter if you're doing Harry Potter. I love D&D if you're doing D&D, but that's not Tolkien, and he would be absolutely horrified.
It's kind of like, you're going to make a Lethal Weapon movie, right? Mm-hmm. Lethal Weapon 5 or 6. And since that's an action movie, you should be allowed to put the Predator in there, because that's from an action movie too.
Precisely.
Right? It wouldn't work.
No.
Just because it's fantasy doesn't mean all fantasy is the same.
Precisely. And I've said before my thesis that these people don't understand what fantasy is. They just think it's just, throw a dragon in there, throw something in there. And this actually goes with another comment of Salty Traveling Sea. But before I get to that, I have a 99-cent super sticker from Salty Traveling Sea, and it is a rose. Yes, it is precious. Everyone gets a rose. We're happy people here. Thank you, Salty Traveling Sea. Thank you for the rose. I really appreciate it, and your support for the channel. And this is to that point that you were saying, Stieg. I wasted enough life on House of the Dragon season 2. Darn right.
You know what? Me and Teresa and a couple on Sporking's channel were the only ones not praising it to death. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Salty, because I was on a stream with it. Salty Traveling Sea.
Oh, yeah, Salty did.
Yeah. Prophet of the Dragon, Incorporeal, but everyone else was Madragons. Didn't you guys hear, says Zax, Tolkien doesn't have any canon.
Yeah.
Just ask the Tolkien professor. Oh, yeah. I get very cranky about all of that. Now, first of all, there's literally a point where Tolkien talks about like the canons of works. But the way we use canon nowadays, it's very difficult to apply to Tolkien because for him, he was creating a myth. It's best to call it his legendarium that makes all of it. But I do understand the use of the word canon. Like I said, Tolkien has done so, but also because the things that are truly what is Tolkien and what Christopher Tolkien himself, who was the guardian of the work appointed by J.R. Tolkien to do so, they're the ones who have the last words on it, and they have both now passed away. But to say that they didn't leave behind stories, didn't leave behind things that are definitive. Nope. And Tolkien professor, I'm going to say this charitably, can go piss off. Because Tolkien sometimes changed his mind. Anyone can just change his work.
Yeah. And where have we heard that before? Oh, yeah, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's identical. People running around going, oh, Lucas didn't specifically say that this was canon, so these 5 novels can't be canon, even though it was official canon by Lucasfilm, which was approved by the head of Lucasfilm, which was George Lucas. Right?
Exactly.
So it's like, even if you spoon feed people stuff, it still doesn't stick. And like I said, this is identical to the what happened with Star Wars. I mean, all we have to do is go back a few years to the sequel trilogy when that happened, and the Mandalorian and stuff and whatever, and you'll see the same arguments from the shells and the same stuff from the shill media. It's just, this is just 2.0 of what happened back then.
Mm-hmm. They're all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
As Soul Assassin says, fake fans shilling for fake lore made by fake creators. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, do I still need to sit salty? Oh, wait, is that something that I know, or is that a joke? And it might be an in-joke between the two of you. Seems like a playbook, don't it? Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it is. And they're trying to destroy also the things that we hold sacred.
Well, they're succeeding at destroying the perception of what Lord of the Rings is. Because if we fast forward 50 years, the people who have grown up at that time, their exposure to Tolkien will be the movies and this show, most likely.
Yeah, unless people keep it alive. I honestly don't know. I think you're right. I think that people underestimate how much TV as a visual medium gets into people's head. That's why a lot of people haven't watched, say, for example, this or the Wheel of Time TV show. I am not touching the Wheel of Time TV show because I don't want to get those images in my head because it is hard to get out.
Yeah. And I've had to struggle with reading Star Wars books, the EU books, after the sequel trilogy happened and all that stuff with Rebels. I was dumb enough to watch it. I can't unsee it because you still have the images, even though they're not in any way connected to what you're reading. You still get the Jake Skywalker face in your mind when you're reading an EU book set after The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, after Return of the Jedi. So and what they did to Vader and Kenobi, right? It's like, it's there, even though you can separate it intellectually, but there's still that little visual thing that pops into your head,
I agree. It's like, it's like prawn. The images do stick in your head. Be careful, kids.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on with the Swede. So he tricks her, really. This is when he, I think, is going through all the different faces. And here we go. And he becomes Halbrand for a while. Because he knew the feelings. Oh, JD Mac. The feelings Galadriel had for him. I also think that Sauron was almost disappointed in the end because I think he would have liked to have Galadriel as his queen.
Well, this is also a plot hole. When he shifts his appearance while fighting her
Mm-hmm.
earlier in the show, that was a whole process. When he shifted his appearance, it was like he was inside a blob thing, a pod,
Oh gosh.
and then changed into his new appearance, which makes more sense than just flipping a switch. But now all of a sudden he could do it willy nilly within seconds.
Oh, you are correct. You're right, because
And
that was the 20 minutes of the first episode, I think they did with that.
And he also shape shifted his clothes. Because his clothes changed.
How could he have done that? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Which is really sloppy when people do shape shifting in movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
They just put the new actor there in a different costume. So if shape shifting is an ability you can do with your body, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't apply to your clothes. The clothes clothes are dead. They're not part of your body.
Yeah.
And remember in Star Wars Episode 2, you have that shape changer? When she gets shot by the dart and shifts back to her original form, it doesn't change the clothes, does it?
No, you're correct.
So
exception
Lucas
being
did it right.
Odo. Yeah, the exception being Odo in Deep Space Nine, but that's a whole different ball game. And Salty Traveling is saying that's why he quit reviewing Poison like the Wheel of Time, because it does get into your head.
And you know what? If I had to pick a favorite fantasy series, and I'll include Star Wars into that because it's fantasy in space. It's not really sci-fi. My favorite would be The Wheel of Time, the book series. That's the one that's hooked me the most.
And I'm in the midst of it right now. I'm on book 3. Okay, let's continue here. And I think that even, however see, check this out. I think that even however malicious and dark Sauron is, he's the Dark Lord. He also believes very strongly that he's there to help Middle Earth. He's going to heal it all. Well, that's kind of a bit true. But what does she mean? Like, I think she doesn't get the nature.
Well, look at it. I think that's a thing that goes through several times. I also think, and then next line, I think, and then this time, I think it's me all the time.
Yeah,
she's making it about her.
Yeah, instead of the work.
Is a thing, which is a thing with modern writers.
Yep,
it's me, and then I'm gonna put this character in there because I need to be represented. Me. Right. When I grew up, right, and watched movies and cartoons and stuff, it never even entered my mind that I should be able to see myself in that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
I wanted to see what Optimus Prime was up to, or Axel Foley. How they defeated the enemies. And then we were outside playing with plastic guns, and my friend would be Optimus Prime and I'd be Bumblebee, playing. That doesn't mean which is the complete opposite of feeling the need to be represented on screen. Because we were playing what was on the screen, not us.
You know what's interesting? Oh, sorry.
So all this needing to be represented stuff, it's born and bred from narcissism. There's no other way around that. That's what's causing it. People are like, I can't watch this because it isn't about me. Right? They're demanding that something that someone wrote 100 years ago should be about them personally. It's nuts.
Yeah. I agree about the taking on of other people's role, though I think that you hit on something there, because you said the part about what the way you played and all that. Actually, with women, it is a little different. We actually do kind of self-insert when we play, when we would play with our Barbies, or I would always want to be Princess Leia. You know what I'm saying? And since so many of these things are women right now,
Yes, but you would be Princess Leia, but you wouldn't want Princess Leia to be you.
that is true. That is true. So yes, I
So
do agree that it's
it is,
narcissism, but
yeah,
it's
it
also
is full blown narcissism.
a problem of having women involved. And I'm saying this as a woman because women's entertainment is vastly different than men's entertainment. And that's not to say that women cannot enjoy Lord of the Rings. Obviously, this is like my favorite work of all time, just about. But you look at things like, let's just throw this out here, like Twilight, or even Jane Austen books, or Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte, Days of Our Lives. Women like to kind of be in the story. So the fact that we have women in here and you combine it that with a me generation, an attitude of old white men suck attitude, and then the narcissistic mess up of a classic is the only thing that can be possible.
Yeah, and when we play D&D,
Hmm.
I've been a DM for guys and women lately. A lot, it's an all female group,
Hmm.
right? And it's not very different when when you guys play D&D, or when I've been a DM for a bunch of guys. Except in your case, you guys stereotypically spend a lot of time buying clothes.
We do.
Yeah,
And then we have to pause because we're all Googling to find a picture of like what our dress is going to look like.
yeah. And then I get criticism for not knowing what kind of dresses those are.
The infamous day dress incident where we didn't know what a day dress was. But let's get back to the love boat. Seeing Halbrand, says the interviewer, really affected Galadriel. What were her feelings for him? So the guy pushed on and she finally says it. Yeah, Galadriel obviously was in love with Halbrand. And this is when I just about blew my brain. You put that in our chat group, and that's how I found this. First of all, Galadriel is not only married at this point, she has a child. The only romance that actually we should be seeing potentially would be Celebrian and Elrond. But then again, they had her making out with Elrond's Galadriel. So, oh my gosh, she and Celebrian are way over on the other side of Cathadoom, hanging out with some elves. It is Celeborn who is hanging around at Eregion. So, screw them. Really pisses me off. There, I said it. I said it twice now.
Another thing I think um, is why this sort of stuff keeps happening is that they have vilified strong straight males
Hmm.
as role models for probably almost a decade now, right?
Yeah.
They've all been cucked. So one way of getting around that is that they apply some heroic traits to the villain. That's why they keep making the white male villains sympathetic in a way, because they circumvent the, oh shit, we made a straight wild white male hero. We can't have that, right?
Yeah, and that's why how you always know who the villain is going to be because it's going to be the straight white man.
No,
That's so the joke went about Halbrand. Of course, he was Sauron because he was the only white man there. Okay, she was very attracted to him. Now, I have said this, and I am not ashamed of the fact Charles Vickers is hot. I think he is a fine looking man, and I was very disturbed about the fact that the only man with charisma who you were attracted to in this show is the Satan character. Because, like, look at the Lord of the Rings. In the books, I was attracted to these guys, except actually I wasn't attracted to Boromir. But I was very attracted to Aragorn and Faramir. And then you look at the movies, hell yes, you were attracted to them. Everything about him, but it wasn't just their looks, because let's be fair, Faramir has like kind of a big nosy actor, and Aragorn, he was always dirty and stuff, but it was also the traits of them that were attractive. So they were physically attractive, as well as, you wanted to be around them, you wanted to listen to them, you wanted to cheer for them. And Boromir, oh my gosh, that's one of the best scenes ever in the Fellowship of the Ring. I'm talking, of course, about the movies now, but the books moved me a lot as well. I'm just talking about what was attracting me on screen. When I watched season 1 on the treadmill in Florida, because that's the only time I could bring myself to actually do it, I had to do something else. Sauron was it. Yes, he was attractive. Everyone else was not. Everyone else was ugly. I mean, you have a chance to do young Elrond, the young version of Hugo Weaving. And no offense to the actor, because I think he might have been fine as Elrond if they didn't try to make him look like a Romulan.
Yeah.
But the only one they made look good was the villain. So, okay, yes, she was very attracted to him. Obviously was in love with Halbrand. My theory is that probably the showrunners aren't too fond of this, because they have not really come out and said that this is the case. And I think they're afraid of it because they are afraid of the reception that show's been given. I found out that Catholic Answers, that they had revealed, they actually had done outreach trying to get people of faith on board with this. They hired a PR firm. So that's how much they've been really desperate, frankly, in season 2. So this kind of crap, they're probably like, damn, we shouldn't have written the check to the PR person, because people of faith aren't going to go for this. But it's also ridiculous that they are so petty, the way they look at the fandom. They're like, oh yeah, Catholics, Christians especially, but Catholics especially, really love the Lord of the Rings movie, so we'll just pay to get some PR out there. It's like, no, we're not just going to tune in to just anything. Crying out loud. So when Sauron changes shape, Sauron knows this because he gets into her head. So he knows what she's thinking, what she's feeling. Oh my gosh. So when he immediately takes Halbrand's shape, he completely destabilizes her, because that was her weakness. She had very strong feelings for the king, for Halbrand, obviously, in the first season. Wait, she is just like repeating herself in this. This is
Yeah. It doesn't make sense in the first season either.
No. Jeannie Mac. So if she's in love with him and he's still inside her head, where the hell are they supposed to go with this in season 3?
He's going to give her head.
Oh. Oh no. The views of the guests of Miss Martin Muses.
He got into her head and then he gave her head.
Wow. I don't think they're going to go there.
Take his head off. I don't know.
I mean, can they keep having them come back, keep having them confront each other? Just
keep doing that with Vader and Kenobi, so why not?
Ugh, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, the elephant in the room to everyone is, no matter what they say, no matter what they put in the show, we're all like, Celeborn is alive. Celeborn is her husband. And so this all just feels dirty.
Yeah. You know what? I bet you they're going to have like a kid, and it's going to be Haldir, because Halbrand and Haldir, right?
Oh,
She,
no. Don't give
I
him
wouldn't.
ideas.
I could see it happening.
Demir83 says, in season 3, they will be together and have babies and unite all Middle Earth. There you go. There was some chick that was giving a friend of mine a little bit of crap, and I jumped in. Big mistake. And she was saying, no, they said that Celeborn's going to be coming next season. And I'm like, they were saying he was coming season 2. And I still think it happened, by the way, because remember when they did those quote unquote leaks? And then was it the Fellowship of Fans where that happened? Where they had been given information and then they were told, no, that was fake. We were just trying to find out who the leaker was. But I think that was BS. I think that we really were supposed to get Celeborn. And
I think Adar was Celeborn, but they
Mhm.
rewrote him because everyone figured it out.
Yeah. Well, and they even played into that because remember they had Adar saying, I used to be known by a different name. And when he had the ring on, how he was so reluctant to show people his face. I thought, oh gosh, here we go. It's going to be Celeborn. So they were trying to fake us out.
Yeah, and let's say Adar stays dead, he got killed and all that. The character is completely pointless because they gave a lot of stuff that Sauron did to him. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
You could have just had Sauron do it. He was supposed to do it anyway and leave the whole Adar stuff out because now it actually doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. He was also a popular character, and I must admit, speaking of which, the fact that we're liking things we're not supposed to, I thought he was one of the best parts of season 1 and even season 2. The actor that they got to replace the original one, I thought he did a fantastic job.
He would have been perfect. The guy who played him in season 2 would have been perfect as Dritzt's dad if they had made the Dark Elf trilogy into movies.
He did kind of look like that, didn't he?
Yeah. He actually had elf looks, unlike the actual elves.
Yeah, you are correct. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, too bad he's dead now. And that's the other thing. The chick, the random elf that even Sauron said, you look kind of like Galadriel. Everyone thought that was going to be Celebrian. But it wasn't.
I mean, no, it was just some lady who fell off the wall and got chopped.
Yeah, like we were supposed to care.
Yeah.
My gosh. All right.
Which is weird. She should have been hurt from that fall since Galadriel fell 50 times longer in the next episode.
Well, but Galadriel apparently has superpowers now. Okay, before we go on to any more subject, do you have anything else to say about the love between Halbrand and Galadriel?
No, it's this is actually a classic case of fan fiction because a lot of fan fiction is written by women who basically do shipping stories. Right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. This just happens to be on screen. It's the same thing.
Yeah. They tried to do something similar with A Ridiculous Romance with Isildur and that random chick.
Yeah.
Like we were supposed to care.
This is the fan fiction generation, if you will. The smutty fan fiction generation, having grown up and gotten jobs in the movie industry. That's what it is.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah. And it's just silly because it just doesn't fit into what J.R. Tolkien has done. I was telling you, I think in another conversation, that he doesn't really write romance.
No.
The romance that he has is very off-screen, if you will. The only real explicit stuff he wrote, like as a love story, was Beren and Luthien. and one could argue a little bit of Awen and Faramir, but of course the whole Aragorn and Arwen stuff, that all happened off screen. She just kind of showed up. It's like, hey, here's my queen, we're gonna get married. But we learned a little bit about an appendix, but it wasn't romance. He didn't write it. He didn't write shippy stuff.
You know where else we've seen writing like this?
Where?
Rey and Kylo.
Oh yeah.
It's identical.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And even the healing each other. Oh gee.
Yeah, it's it's identical.
Oh, and they thought that it was going to be such a dig when she goes, heal yourself. I'm like, oh gee.
You know what else has become a thing? Whenever a character kind of embraces or realizes his or her powers, they use magic to lift rocks. Rey did it.
Not Gandalf.
Not Gandalf did it, and Kenobi in the Kenobi show. So lifting rocks with magical powers has become a template.
Oh, gee.
Because it's being used so often.
Yeah. Well, look who's here. It is Mr. Gregory AI. Thank you for being here. And yeah, the screamers at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, Grant Gregory says it's a love story these people deserve. Actually, yes, it completely sucks. But thank you. That was a great transition to.
Well, you know what?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Those girls that screamed in rage at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. I can understand their rage because they brought those cucumbers to the cinema for nothing.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, speaking of not Gandalf or the Grand Elf, Jeannie Mac, I have some sources here about where did we get the name of Gandalf from? Well, Tolkien says in letter 25, the dwarf names and the wizards are from the Elder Edda. It's not from English. It's not some idiots going, there's a grand elf here.
It's straight from the Vikings.
Vikings win again. And here's the famous word. It's from Tolkien letter 297. I'm afraid to pronounce it. Is a dwarf name in Voluspa.
Voluspa.
What you said. And how does that Gandalf name, how is that pronounced?
Oh, it's actually pronounced Gandalf, but they often add an R to the end of stuff. And in Old Norse, usually if it's plural. So if you think of it as Gandalfers, right? The Urs is the R.
Oh, well, there you go. The more you know. And of course, that is where the name came from.
It means staff elf.
Not grand elf. Not to mention that they shouldn't even know what an elf is.
Yeah, and oddly enough, they don't know what elves are, and because they've never seen one. Because otherwise, they would see that Gandalf isn't one, right?
Yeah.
But most people in Middle Earth don't know what a wizard is. There's only 5 of them, right? And they arrived in the year 1000 in the Third Age.
Yeah.
So almost 3,000 years after the events that are seemingly taking place in the Rings of Power. So Gandalf in the Rings of Power is 3,000 years too early. So think about that in our history.
That's like before Christ. That's like back in the Babylonia.
Yeah.
1,000 years before. My goodness.
Yeah, it's like having a TV show about I don't know, the war that happens after 9/11, and then you have the Babylonian cavalry showing up.
Yeah, exactly. Totally out of order. Not to mention the fact that, well, what we were saying about the elves, not only would they not know what an elf is, would they even know the word elf, the not hobbits?
That's a good question. If they've
Yeah.
just been traveling and avoiding people at all costs, they wouldn't even have heard the name elf unless they have it in one of their books.
Yeah. And I've
Now there's Hagrid.
Yeah. Nice segue. You're segueing perfectly through all this stuff. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Not Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, he has the same house as Hagrid in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Really concerned with animals like Hagrid is, and lo and behold, he has the same damn voice as Hagrid. And he even has a whomping willow next to his house. Right? That tree that takes Gandalf.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'd almost erased it from my mind. That and the tornado.
Yeah, it's Hagrid.
And look at this. Is this jolly Tom Bombadil, man without care in the world, older than everything that's old? Look at that.
Wasn't he supposed to have a blue jacket and yellow boots as well? I don't think he had either of those. Yet they actually sing it.
Yeah, I think he might have had sort of yellowish boots at one point. Yes, Odin, Omi. Yeah, well, yeah, it's everyone but Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, it's but Tom Bombadil, though.
Oh no, yeah. And we know that Tom Bombadil didn't care. And when we say he didn't care, it wasn't because he was a jerk, as in he didn't care, but it was not comprehensible to him to care about anything. He juggled the one ring. He was like, yeah, we're just kind of here and hi. It was almost like he had like ADHD. He just wasn't grounded. And Gandalf has said, I've said this before, that he couldn't have had Tom Bombadil help with the whole One Ring quest because he would have like lost it. He just wouldn't have cared. He would have misplaced it while he was looking at a butterfly or something to that effect. Yeah, they made him a hobo. Yeah, look at him. He looks like he's homeless. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, look at that.
Well, to be fair, he actually is a bit of a hobo.
Yeah.
But still, he's also a pacifist. He doesn't care about the conflicts of humans or whatever else. He'll help people if they're in immediate danger, like, hey, oh, you're hungry? Here's some food. Right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Offer them shelter, maybe, but nothing, here's a sword to kill Sauron with. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Or, hey, here's your staff. You really need to find your staff. And like he's guiding him like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that Jonathan on the OneRing.com, not the bad one, said he's Duck Dynasty. Hi, yes, John Sue. Tom kept to his own land, so kind of like the opposite of hobo. Yeah, but
yeah, kind of. But
yeah,
kind of had the look though. But
yeah.
The staff though, Gandalf just picks it up randomly. It was just on the ground, and it's all bent. But when he's walking with it, it's straight. So what happened? Did it straighten itself? I don't know.
Maybe it's magic.
Probably Bombadil did it with the whistle. I don't know.
Gosh, yeah. Well, no, here's what I hoped, because those little not hobbits, is that the last we're going to see of them? Because you know how they separated at the end? They're like, you've got a different journey. We're going to go off and I guess find the Shire, which is going to happen. But I'm hoping that's it, right? They're not coming back.
I don't know.
I don't know, because
I don't want anyone to come back. I just want them to leave.
That's true. Poor actors, but my gosh. And then the weird stores. That was bizarre. That's where they said people were making fun of it because they said it looked like Star Wars. Looked like Tatooine a little bit.
Yeah,
Mixed in with
it looked like Filoni Star Wars
Mhm.
because all diverse, and it doesn't look like what it looks like in the movies at all, except for a couple of memberberry props. Oh, remember that droid? Oh, there he is. He's rolling down the street.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, it actually looked like the dryads from The Witcher, which they erase swapped.
Oh. Well, I would know because I don't know a lot about The Witcher, but
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
They took a scantily clad white nymph looking lady and replaced her with a chubby black woman with a fro.
Oh, I remember you showing me a picture of that. Okay. I just didn't
Yeah.
remember the name. Yeah. Well, and again, the diversity that they have out there, nothing against diversity, but if you're out there being a bunch of hobbits, not hobbits, living in a hole basically in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to get that level of diversity. You're
No,
not going to
and
look like Times Square.
most fantasy stories have natural diversity.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go to a different part of the world, and lo and behold, it's all black people there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's where they live. And then they'll spend a lot of time there, and you learn about that culture, and maybe one of them goes with them for the rest of the books, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And with Tolkien, the diversity is between the races of Middle Earth: Hobbit, elf, dwarf, and human. That's the diversity, right?
Yes.
It's not all kinds of human skin, human races from our world mixed with them. Because then you're just bringing the real world into this and mixing it. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Because again, this is the world that they wrote. And if they
Yeah.
really had wanted to get brave, can you imagine if they had done like even the whole story based on the Easterlings? I would have watched the hell out of that.
Yeah. And, if we flip it, right? Take Black Panther, the movie. They're in Wakanda. There's no Asians there. There's no Norwegians, no Mexicans, no Native Americans. It's only black people. They did it right. That's what it's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
It's in Africa.
Manny Bennett
Right?
says there were 3 top of Hobbit references in Tolkien's work. So, well, yes, they were. But what we're saying is that within each of these groups, they would not have had that kind of diversity.
No,
Like
because
if
he's
all of the
described them.
stores had been black, for example, like for example, what they did in the House of the Dragon, a certain geography, they're gonna look a certain way.
Yeah.
Because this
If
is
if the stores were black, then Gollum would be black.
Yeah.
Because he
That's
was a store.
That's true. But you know what I'm saying, though? If they wanted to do it like that, at least that would make sense. That's what we're saying. We're not saying there weren't different types of hobbits. I mean, obviously there were. As Soul Assassin said, Easterlings would make a good series. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that have been badass? But no,
That's where they could have done a story that Tolkien didn't write, because the 2 blue wizards went to the east,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And Tolkien didn't write much about it at all. All he said was, "I fear that they failed." So
Yeah.
it's wide open. You can do
And
all kinds of stuff there without stepping on anything.
and you have the throwaway line, or not throwaway line, from Faramir that they also put in the movie where he ponders. It's like, what's his home? How was he deceived? Was he
Yeah,
wanting peace just like we did? Just all of that could have
yeah. It's
just been really
wide
cool.
open there for the pickings.
Yeah.
And
The
then you would
story
have
Tolkien.
dark-skinned people, because that's what the Easterlings look like.
Yeah. And
And
that goes to the point of
I wouldn't want any of the Easterlings to be black. Sorry, to be white,
white. Yeah.
because they're not supposed to be.
Yeah. Again, the natural diversity. Now, that's why I don't get too cranky in modern times If a story is set in modern times and you have race swapping and all that, it's like that's the way it is in this world. But if you're trying
Yeah.
to bring the 21st century, or what are we in the 21st century now?
Yeah.
Yes, we're in the 21st century. 21st century New York into a fantasy that's supposed to be prehistoric. That's just all we're saying here.
Yeah. I mean, they did a TV show up here in Norway um, about how that commando troop blew up the heavy water plant that the Germans had built in World War II
Mm-hmm.
uh, to uh, uh, to use for nuclear weapons. So a group of Norwegian commandos went there and blew it up. It's one of the most decisive things in World War II because it kept Mustache Man from getting nuclear weapons,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in the new TV show, for diversity's sake, a bunch of them were Arabs.
Hmm.
Like,
Well, not
there
just
were
that.
no Arabs at that time.
This.
If something like this had happened now, today,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, fine, because we have a lot of immigrants and all that. That even second
Yep.
generation ones.
Yep. And especially with historical things, you need to be careful. I think GW North. Hello, thank you for being here. Is that a word that I don't know how to pronounce?
It's a brand
Oh,
in
okay.
Norway.
All right. And speaking of which, they also brought in not Saruman, which
Yeah, total not him. Used all his lines too.
yeah. Now I will say this: that 20 years ago, if we didn't have Christopher Lee and we had Kieran Hines the way he is now, he actually is a very good Saruman, but he's not supposed to be here.
No, he's 3,000 years too early.
Yeah. And he wasn't bad. He was good. Gandalf
Yeah,
knew him as a good and a great man.
and both Saruman and Gandalf should look the way they look in the Peter Jackson movies.
Yeah, they should be old.
Because that's the shape they took when they arrived at Middle Earth. They took the shape of old men, and that's the shape they kept all through the story, except for Gandalf, who turned more white through the resurrection.
Yeah, but he
leveled up. That was what, and he basically returned in a slightly new form.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't. His old form was probably destroyed, I guess.
Yeah, he died. I mean, Tolkien said he did truly die and truly was sent back in a new, like a resurrected body.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
no Sauron.
They're supposed to look one way and only that.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Game of Thrones, here's Karl Marx being Dragon Man bad.
Yeah. Eagle showed up, landed, and didn't say anything. Eagles can actually speak.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't the eagle say anything?
Yeah, and the dude just walked up to it, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, they've chosen him to be the king." It's like, no, they didn't. For those of you that don't know, what happened with our Pharazôn, he was the cousin of Muriel, and they forbid marriage between first cousins, by the way. And
he's not born yet, I think.
Oh, well, the timeline's all off. I mean, because, yeah, he came around after it was long after the siege of Eregion, because, wait, not long after, rather. No, that was when he gathered up the army and he came down to Middle-earth to fight Sauron. But yeah.
Then they had him do a January 6th.
Oh, dear.
Well, that's what it was.
It's exactly what it was. Speaking of bringing the real world into this. But what happened was to become king and all that, he forced Muriel to marry him. That's how it all went down. So I guess maybe in the show they're going to do that, maybe in season 3. But all of this, I'm going to have the eagle show me their belief in those signs and portents and stuff. That wasn't the way the Numenorians worked. Let alone this stupid scene. And then they threw Muriel into the water for the Valar to send an animal. First of all, Tolkien was very, very much against any thing that resembled ritual or worship or something, and he never described how the Valar interacted with the people, and certainly it wouldn't be through these weird sea creatures. It was just stupid. Speaking of which, here it is. The chick who had lava thrown across her whole body, and the only thing that happened was she went blind.
Yeah, and this was all weird because they tossed her into that little, almost like a tiny lagoon thing. Because there's rock on all, it's almost like a pond in the ocean.
Yeah.
So when the Kraken thing grabs her, it should have pulled her into the rocks, shouldn't it?
Oh, you're right.
Because there's rocks all around.
Yeah. Well, I've swum in places like this. You're right.
And then even though she's blind, she's looking straight at it when she's underwater. How would she know that it was in that direction?
It must have been the power of the Valar.
Yeah. And the whole of Numenor is there to watch, well, all 30 people.
Yeah.
Because we see them on the shore.
Yeah. This is also a good time to mention that the way they have the quote-unquote faithful in this show is, well, first of all, it's a little bit nebulous, but also their worship, they were the ones that literally worshipped God in this Eru. And Tolkien did describe in his Unfinished Tales that they would go up to a mountain to worship God, Eru. And that part of the whole thing with Al-Farazon, when he got corrupted by Sauron, he started an anti-religion where they were worshiping Morgoth. So almost a satanic thing going on, and they started doing human sacrifice. But the faithful were faithful to God. And yes, they did not want the immortality of the elves. They weren't jealous of the elves, but it wasn't like that was the center of their religion. And Christopher Tolkien said in his commentary that the Valar are to the people of Numenor the way in Catholicism the saints are. That they can petition God, and the people can petition the Valar and sometimes call out to them, but it was actually the worship of God that made them the faithful. And I don't think, Steve, in the show, did they ever explain that?
Nothing.
Yeah. They just, I thought that. They just were randomly the faithful. I think they were making it like the faithful are just people that like elves. It was very Orange Man badish. Yeah. He said she remembers her from Spartacus. Was she in Spartacus?
Yeah. She played Navia for I think it was the last 2 seasons, because the other one left. The first one. She started... but the first one jumped over to the Lucifer TV show, which oddly enough went woke.
Oh, gee. Imagine that. Well, thank you, Play Nice, for being here. Thank you. And I appreciate your support for this channel. Thank you.
But yes, she was very good on Spartacus. Heck, everyone was really damn good on that one. I mean, the guy who played Azog on in the Hobbit movies, he played one of the main gladiators. So
yeah,
everyone performed probably above their skill level, I think.
Yeah,
in that show.
Well, and speaking of performing above your skill level, we've talked about the crap writing. She, in a few points, was able to overcome the crap writing and really do some good acting, I thought, objectively speaking. Same thing with the actor that did Celebrimbor. He gave an amazing performance. If you're a good enough actor, you can sometimes briefly turn crap into gold. And she was able to pull it off.
She would have been great as Storm in the X-Men.
Oh, well, there you go. And for those of you that don't know, the way the story continues is the faithful do get persecuted, but not for the way they did it in the show. The faithful were persecuted because of their worship of the one true God. And when I say the one true God, I'm using Tolkien's perspective here. Okay, that's the way he thought, and that's the way he wrote. And the Elendil and all them eventually escaped. They were like the last of the line. And then Alfarazon, with Sauron's urging, and he's just so corrupted and so much wants to take immortal life, his jealousy of the elves' immortality, and his refusal to accept what they call the gift of men, which is death. Death is like a good thing. Like the men are lucky because they get to die. That's the way that it's looked upon in the Legendarium. He dares to try to land and conquer friggin' Valinor. And that's when the Valar go to God, Eru and Iluvatar, and they're just like, dude. And
just pull the plug already.
Exactly. And God's like, yeah, this is too much. And boom, he turns the world into a circle. And Alfarazon and all of those guys and Numenor just goes, boom, just like Atlantis. So pull the plug. I like that. That's exactly what the Valar do. So I don't know if they're going to do that in the show. Well, because like I said, so far they're really not talking about their worship of God. They talk about the Valar and they talk more about their faithfulness to the elves. And they are kind of quote unquote faithful to the elves, but not in the way that they're portraying it on the show. Fellow Assassin said, I still say the Numenorians would make a very good series. After seeing some lore vids, their history would make great TV. Holy hell yes. I would love to see a proper rendering of this. And you talk about dark. They do some seriously dark stuff. The Numenorians when they follow Sauron. Because what happens is Alfarazon, he takes his army and goes and works with the elves for a bit to conquer Sauron, and he captures Sauron and brings it back. But Sauron is so clever and plays on him that in about 3 years, very, very quickly, he becomes a trusted advisor to Alfarazon and leads him into this false worship. So the way they do it in the show, yeah, it's not it. Oh yeah, speaking of which, there he is. All right, I great actor. I think he's also one of those that now and then turns crap into gold. I think he is a very fine actor. But oh my gosh, look at those Numenorian.
Yeah, it's Ned Stark about to get beheaded.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we all know that George R. R. Martin takes a lot of his inspiration from historical events, especially around the War of the Roses and the Anarchy and other things like that. So yes, St. Thomas More is the other one that struck me. And they literally ripped off a scene straight out of A Man for All Seasons. If you've never seen that movie about St. Thomas More, here it is. St. Thomas More was... He was one of the few people, he wouldn't swear that Henry VIII was head of the church in England. He wanted to stay faithful to Catholicism, and he was going to be put to death for it. And his daughter, this is true story, his daughter did this in letters, but in The Man for All Seasons, they had a dialogue. I don't know, maybe this isn't the exact scene, but it's very similar to this, where she's visiting him in prison, and she sits there and she says, please, Father, please just give in, just do it, and he's like, no, I've got to be true to my conscience. This is who I am. I'm a Catholic and all this. They mirrored that scene with Elendil with his daughter where she's sitting there doing the exact same thing and crying. So they copied something out of an Academy Award-winning movie, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dudes."
Also, like Sansa and Ned Stark.
Oh, well, very similar, very similar. But I mean, if you do see A Man for All Seasons, it's almost beat for beat the same scene, even where they're placed and the way she's begging him and the way he talks to her. It's it's just such a ripoff. And they can't even do this originally. And of course, they can't do it well because I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it another time. If you really wanted to do what these people are trying to do, you would need to be almost superhuman, a superhuman genius. I've always said you would have to be smarter than St. Thomas Aquinas to get this done right. You would need to be to writing what Michelangelo is to art. And I will defend that it's that kind of a level that these guys cannot get to. So when they copy things, all they can do is copy and plagiarize, and every now and then throw in a memberberry, and not even a memberberry from Tolkien's work, but from Peter Jackson's. Some people have been saying, are they plagiarizing Jackson? Is that even legal? I don't know. I don't know what kind of a deal they have. Oh, wait, that's the last of my slides here. But it's so unoriginal. It's not well done. It's mostly well acted. You can see almost, I imagine, every time they have a break, all the actors sitting there smoking cigarettes and taking shots and going, oh gosh, I've got to try to do this scene tomorrow. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say. I guess we could talk a little bit about Elrond, but all that thing with them chasing the rings and passing the rings and the stuff with the ship guy. The name just went out of my head. I've been talking too long. And he drops the ring. Oh, what is it? Yeah, he has the ring and he's like, look, and fish start jumping around the ring. Yeah. It's like, dang. And do you think that they're going to do more with Galadriel and Elrond kissing, or are they just going to pretend like it didn't happen?
Oh, I think they're gonna. I think the backlash scared them off a bit. So I think it's just going to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why Elrond's attracted to her daughter.
Oh gosh, they did that in Twilight, Steeg. In Breaking Dawn. Oh gosh, no. Well,
I think I'm onto something with that, to be honest.
Oh, dude. And you know what? Because it just occurred to me that when she met Galadriel, when she met Elrond, she was already a grown woman. She met Elrond like right after this, I think, when they went to Rivendell, or rather in Lodris, when they went to find Celeborn, that's when they met, and she was already a woman grown up. But if
Yeah, so he basically he couldn't have the mom, so he took the daughter.
Yeah, because she's gonna have to be a baby when he first sees her. If they're gonna bring back Celeborn and then they make a elf baby. You called it. If they're gonna do it at all, I don't know. To be fair, if they were gonna do Celebrian, that was actually a good actor for it. The lady that they had that we all thought it was gonna be her.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I hope I'm pronouncing her.
Wasted.
Yeah,
Potential.
she just died. And then the Asian elf who they ripped off from Boromir, she just kind of died too. I mean, oh, and how cringe was it when Elrond called her commander? It's like, dude.
Yeah, he would have said, "Milady" or something.
Yeah. They want to take away the femininity of these people. And you know what else they took away from us? Can you imagine if they'd have done the whole Eregian thing and had us follow Celeborn with it, and then everything that was going on with Celebrimbor?
Well,
And
they did the same to Princess Leia.
yeah, you're right. They took away the man, didn't they?
Yeah, and also took away the princess title.
Oh yeah, General. Show's gonna go down as the most expensive fanfics ever. Says Soul Assassin. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, they wanted to have the same accolades that Peter Jackson got. They thought that they were going to be heroes, and they misunderstood the Tolkien fandom. But not to knock anybody, I'm not insulting anyone, but in contrast to a lot of the fandom for House of the Dragon, the TV show, not the source material, they tend to be very much, as Steve was saying earlier, like, oh, my dragon, oh, my this.
Yeah. Well, the thing with, you could look at the original Game of Thrones show, which abandoned the source material in season 5.
Yeah.
And then people were still, well, you can see now people, huge fans, and I'm against the woke, blah, 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 against bad writing. And then, like, yeah, we need to remake season 8 of Game of Thrones because that's the problem.
Mm-mm.
No, it wasn't. It was
It's
season
long
5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. And so when season 2 came out, it was like we were saying it. So everyone go watch the Sporking ones or the ones on Nerdporial or Prophet of the Dragon. We were like voices in the wilderness. But the same cracks were showing. So people are going to retroactively say, "Oh yeah, it sucked. I knew it." It's like, no. But I don't want to pat myself on the back because it's not just
It's
it's just
not patting
everybody.
you on the back, though, when you're spotting something obvious, you know?
Yeah. Well, people are just setting themselves up for disappointment. That's just all there is to it. But this show was so crappy from the very beginning. It was just very difficult. And I think one sign of the fact that it's not very successful is where's the merchandise? Where's the merchandise for this show? Where's the Lego sets and the mugs and the t-shirts and the action figures? You don't see anything. I mean, you see that for, like, for example, House of the Dragon. That crap is everywhere. You can buy like a lamp with a glow in the dark egg. It's Rhaenyra. I was at a Halloween store and they had a Rhaenyra costume and all that. There is nothing from Rings of Power. If you see anything, Lord of the Rings, it's like the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson's one. It's not. It's not this show. So see what Soul said. They have merch to Soul Assassin for that Lord of the Rings anime. Looks cheap.
Yeah, which is going to
Is that
be,
the Rohirrim
that,
one?
yeah, which
Oh,
is going to
cheap.
be just as lore breaking as this show. But then you'll have people go, oh, yeah, but it's not so bad because it is anime.
Yeah, some people might say that, but I do see people shouting the warning signals about this. I think the minute that they made the announcement the story was going to be all about Hera, who of course isn't even in there, it's not even her name, she's not even named. People knew, okay, they did a bait and switch and they're going to be using Peter Jackson's name. They even did in the preview where they showed Aragorn and Legolas, that scene when they're going into the Great Hall and then transition in. It's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so shameless. And of course, they got Miranda Otto to do the narration. It's just going to be, remember this, remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, let's see. Ziansu, I was hopeful for War of the Rohirrim. I was kind of too. I thought that it sounded like a really cool idea. And then the same old, same old.
Yeah, Girl Boss. Which effectively makes Eowyn nobody special anymore.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing special about Eowyn after this.
I know, and you know how much I love Eowyn. I mean, it's just, well, okay, this isn't real. It's just like Rings of Power, so I'm not going to allow it to ruin Eowyn for me. They can, piss right off. It's not okay. Well, I'm doing better with my swearing. I didn't drop any F-bombs today. So, yay, me. Well, here's the story. We're going to go ahead and log off because I have an appointment in about 20 minutes with a friend. So, Steve, where can we find you and what's coming up?
Wednesday at I think it's 8:30 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be on with Mara, Jade Shadow on Twitter. We're going to be doing our top 10 favorite movies from 1992. That is top 10 favorite, not top 10 best. So a lot of nostalgia kicks in, and a lot of guilty pleasure movies maybe. But and we're doing that as a monthly thing. So next month it'll be 1993, where probably both of us will have Jurassic Park as number one.
Mm.
This is a fairly safe bet, I think.
I would say it's hard to top that one. That was amazing.
Yeah, it really is, and we've probably watched it, 20 times or more each. So,
oh, nice. Well, cool. Well, yeah, please, everyone, please subscribe to Jade Shadow. She has a lot of really cool stuff on there. And let's see. Shansu says, thank you for the stream. Well, thank you for being here. Oh, speaking of which, thank you, Soul Assassin. Anticipated what I was going to say. Now, Wednesday, it is going to be another pub crawl. Pub crawl will return with Rev Kev and Dragonlance. Yes, Precious. We're going to be doing everything Dragonlance. So set your reminders. That's going to be at 5 o'clock Central or 6 Eastern. So it'll work out very nicely. You can watch that and then move on over to Jade Shadow to see the top 10 from 1993. Also, Saturday, I'm going to be
1992.
92. Oops. 1992. Wait a second. I thought Jurassic Park was 1993.
Yes.
But
I said that next month we'll do 1993.
Oh, I totally suck. Sorry about that. Never mind.
Yeah,
forget everything I just said.
It's your fault.
It is entirely my fault. This Saturday, I'm going to be on with Dark Hour. We're going to be talking about The Sixth Sense. And then in 2 weeks, I will be talking about one of my favorite horror movies, The Omen, with an Incorporeal Life Form. And of course, you can find me here on Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really, really ticks me off. Obviously, today was something that really, really ticked me off. And thank you all for being here for these Monday musings. Before we thank, yes, we had Sean Sue, Soul Assassin, DJ Play Nice, Mr. Grant Gregory, Salty Traveling Sea, Zax. And if I missed anyone, it is not intentional. Everything jumps around. Oh, of course, we had a Dega Outlaw. Thank you for being here. And we had a Rose super sticker from Salty Traveling Sea, which we always appreciate. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Haven't seen Rev Kevin forever. No, I haven't either. That's what happens when you're a pastor. You got stuff going on. So I'm very excited about this. And he knows his Dragonlance. Everyone.
Oh, do you know what he drinks for breakfast?
No.
Pasteurized milk.
Ba-dum-bum. There you go. Yeah. So I would anticipate, well, rather, first of all, watch the stream. Thank you. And I appreciate you for being here for the pub crawl stream. But I think you're going to hear a lot of really cool stuff about Dragonlance, and that might inspire you. Go back and read that. Go backwards. We're talking about what's crap here, this crappy fan fiction stuff, but there is really great fantasy. There is high fantasy that you can be reading. There's sword and sorcery. Go back and read the original Robert E. Howard Conan. Read the new comics of Conan from Titan Comics. They are amazing. Read about Solomon Kane, or read Terry Brooks. Read The Wheel of Time. Read Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms Dragonlance is a little lighter. Actually, Dragonlance is a little heavier than Forgotten Realms, but it's entertaining. It's good. It'll bring you to a place that'll make you happy and distracted, and maybe even believe in magic. So go ahead and do that. Or heck, for that matter, read Harry Potter. Harry Potter was one of the last series before everything went nuts, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So there we go. Well, everyone, have a great day. Have a great day, and be certain to read the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. You will not regret it.